Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again, doing another discography countdown of one of my favorite bands. Today we are going to be tackling the death doom genre and one of the best bands in that subgenre, of course talking about Hooded Menace. So these guys are from Finland. They formed in 2007. They have since put out 6 studio albums, and like I said, they are definitely one of the best in the genre. Of course, like taking a lot of influence from the bands of the past, like Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride, but not just paying tribute to them, but really putting their own spin on it. Even from album to album, their style somewhat changes. The main songwriter in this band, I'll probably mispronounce his name, so I apologize. It's Lasse Peikko. Probably mispronouncing that, like I said. But yeah, he's the guitar player and principal songwriter. Originally, he did vocals on the first 4 albums as well. They did bring in a new vocalist for the last 2 albums. I like both the vocalists. The original first 4 albums, the vocals are very strong, but the last 2 albums, the vocals are great as well. They didn't miss a beat with the transition, so definitely no complaints either way. So yeah, they've got 6 studio albums. I'm going to rank them from my least favorite down to my favorite. I'll just preface this by saying I really don't think they have any bad albums, even though something's coming 6. Does not mean I don't like it. All these albums are good. But that being said, I still think there is a clear divide in the top 3 from the bottom 3. Like, to me, the ones that I'm going to talk about first, the bottom 3, the order of those could be switched, in my opinion. Like, they're all very close in quality from 654. And then same thing with the top 3. Like, my top 3 are clearly my favorites above the bottom 3, and the top 3 order could switch as well. There is just like a noticeable gap, at least for me, in between those albums. But anyways, let's just get right into this. Like I said, even these bottom 3 are not bad albums by any stretch. They're just not quite on par with the top 3. But so anyways, coming in at number 6, my least favorite Hooded Menace album is from 2012, Effigies of Evil. So this was their 3rd album. And this, like I said, because I'm putting this 6th does not mean I don't like it. This is still a very solid album. It's chocked full of great riffs. Like, that's what Hooded Menace is just known for. Riffs, riffs, riffs. Just so many great fucking riffs. There's even a lot of great melodies and harmonies underlying a lot of these riffs. Awesome solos as well. And overall, like, this album is still very, very heavy. And it's very enjoyable. It's just, to me, the songs maybe aren't as memorable as on some of the other albums. Like, there's maybe some standout moments, but as a whole, the songs don't stick in my head as much as on other albums. I don't listen to this one as much for that reason. So it holds it back a little bit. But that being said, this is like, it's still a very enjoyable album. I don't want it to sound like I'm shitting on this album at all. It's still fucking solid. Best songs on here, the title track, Effigies of Evil. Curses Scribed in Gore is solid. My favorite track on the album is for sure Crumbling Insanity. That one's really catchy. That's kind of the exception. That one does stick in my head. But yeah, all in all, this one, I'm putting it last because I just prefer the other ones more. But still definitely go listen to this if you haven't heard it before. Up next, coming in at number 5, is actually the album that followed that one from 2015, Darkness Drips Forth. So this one's a little bit of a different kind of album compared to all their others. There's only 4 tracks on here, and they're all extremely long, like right around the 10-minute mark. Like, this album's over 40 minutes, and it's only the 4 tracks. It really plods along at like a funereal pace. Like, this is definitely their slowest album. And of course, with Death Doom, you're expecting the songs to be on the slower side, of course. But these ones really take that to the T, like more in the funeral doom side of things, I suppose. It's really got a lot of slow build in the songs, but it does give the riffs a lot of room to breathe, lets them marinate a little bit. But yeah, to me, it's just another one that's not quite on par with their best, but it's still a very enjoyable album. I still like listening to it a lot. I do like this one a little bit more than Effigies of Evil. There's only 4 songs, so naming favorites is kind of pointless, but my favorite track for sure is Ashen with Solemn Decay. Elysium of Dripping Death is really great as well. But all in all, the front to back, this whole album is solid. Definitely deserves a listen. It's in at number 5. So up next at number 4, I'm going with the debut from 2008, Fulfill the Curse. So what a debut for these guys. Like, yeah, this is an extremely heavy album. The guitar is just crushing. The bass is buzzing. The whole album is very like slow to mid-paced tons of just doom riffs that power this whole album, just infused with the old school death metal, exactly what you want from this subgenre. There's great solos permeating throughout the whole thing as well. My only complaint on this album is maybe the drums are a bit thin sounding. They're not really too powerful. They could definitely be a little bit higher up in the mix. But beyond that, like, this album is still solid. Maybe it's not as catchy as their best. It's not as developed, like, songwriting-wise as the next 3 albums I'm going to talk about. But for a debut, this is excellent. This is still a solid album. Sorry, my camera's getting a little messed up here. I'll try to fix that. There we go. Favorite tracks on here, the title track, Fulfill the Curse, is excellent. Beauty and the Feast is awesome. The Eyeless Horde. Like, all in all, this is still a fucking solid album. Like I said, it's only coming fourth because the top 3, I think, are top-notch, and they're a little bit better than this. So, yeah, now into the top 3. These ones are interchangeable on the order for me, to be honest. They're all so goddamn good. But let's see what order I've got them in. That's the fun with doing these, is trying to figure out which one I like more. So here we go. Coming in at number 3 from 2018 is Ossuarium Silhouettes Unhallowed. So this was the first album that had the new vocalist on there. This was actually my introduction to the band. I was a late comer to these guys. I had not heard them when their first 4 albums came out, but then when the 5th one dropped, there was a lot of hype around it. I checked it out, and the hype was well deserved. I got hooked on them instantly, and then that's when I did a dive back into their back catalog. But yeah, this whole album, like, the atmosphere is just so great. The atmosphere on here is probably better than any of their other albums. It's really got like an ethereal feel to the whole thing. The guitar tone is perfect. It's just so melancholic while still having like these crushing heavy riffs, but they're catchy at the same time too. Yeah, the new vocalist, they didn't miss a beat, still suits the music great. There's really a ton of underlying melody to this whole album as well. Wow, my camera is really getting messed up. I'm sorry here. But yeah, like I said, there's tons of melody underscoring this whole album. There's even like really great slow melodic leads over top of the slower, doomier riffs. And just the whole combination, they really nailed their sound here. This is probably the best that they've sounded in terms of atmosphere in their whole career. I do like a couple other albums better. Clearly this one's only at number 3. But atmosphere-wise, this one really hits the nail on the head. Best songs on here: Sempiternal Grotesqueries, Cascade of Ashes, Charnel Reflections, In Eerie Deliverance is really cool. Like, basically this whole fucking album is solid. Top-notch stuff. I have it at number 3, but if you had this higher than 3, I wouldn't say anything bad about that. This is absolutely solid. This could easily be number 1. But for me, for today, it's coming in at number 3. Up next at number 2, I am going back to 2010 with their second album, Never Cross the Dead. So this one, to me, compared to the debut, leaps and bounds better. The songwriting got way better. Still crushingly heavy, but they even started like switching up the pace and speed of the songs a little bit. It's definitely still on the slow to mid-paced side, of course, with Death Doom, but compared to the debut, there is a little more variation in there. There's much more melody than on the debut as well, and it kind of like makes Death Doom fun. Like, these songs are catchy, they stick in your head, the riffs just really kick ass, and like, this really delivers on being one of the best Death Doom albums of the era. Like, maybe, yeah, probably of all time. I was going to say of all time, and I was holding myself back, but it probably is one of the best Death Doom albums of all time. Never mind just of the 2000s or 2010s. Like, even go back to the old days, this is on par with the best. Best songs on here, the title track, Never Cross the Dead, that's probably my favorite Hooded Menace song ever. Super fucking catchy riff, sticks in your head for sure, just absolutely awesome. The House of Hammer, Rituals of Mortal Cremation, Terror Castle is super catchy. Like, all in all, absolutely stellar album. This could easily be your number 1 as well, and I wouldn't say anything bad about that. This probably should be number 1. This is one of their most highly regarded albums. But for me, coming in at number 1, maybe a bit of a surprise, I'm actually going with their newest album from last year, The Tritonus Bell. So this one, for me, I actually had it in my top 5 albums of anything for 2021. It is just an absolutely stellar album. This is probably their most accessible album, which some people may take that as a negative, but I think it's a positive. It might bring them new fans, and it's really just fucking awesome. It's probably the funnest Death Doom album I have ever heard. Bang my head so much to this album, like you won't be able to stop yourself. You'll just feel these riffs and start fucking headbanging. It's so goddamn catchy. Like, they did something a little bit different with their approach on this album. They kind of brought in like an 80s heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal, like King Diamond-esque melodies interspersed with the Death Doom, and it just really suits it so well. Like, they fucking executed this perfectly. This album was produced by Andy LaRocque from King Diamond, so that could have had something to do with it, possibly. But yeah, like, I really hope they put out more albums in this vein, because they just fucking perfected this sound, and it's my favorite album by them. I didn't do a ranking of them right away when this came out, because I wanted to give this album more time to really see if my initial impressions were gonna be as strong like a few months later than they were when I first heard it, but they definitely are. If anything, they're probably stronger. Like, this album, it makes an immediate impact, and it stays with you. It's so fucking catchy. The riffs, the vocals, all the performances on here are just great. Solos, all the melodies, fucking perfect, awesome album. Best songs on here: Chime Diabolicus, Blood Ornaments, Those Who Absorb the Night, Scattered into Dark. They even do a Wasp cover, The Torture Never Stops, as a bonus song. And like, I fucking love 80s metal, especially like early Wasp, and The Torture Never Stops is a classic fucking song, and they do their own spin on it. Just awesome. Like, all in all, yeah, fucking awesome. I'm running out of words to say here with how good this album is and how highly I think of it. Some people may say they are very surprised I'm putting this #1, but hey, these are just my opinions as usual. I'd love to hear yours down below. What's your favorite Hooded Menace album? Do you love the Tritonus Bell as much as I do? But yeah, anyways, until next time, please go hit that subscribe button. Let me know your opinions down below. And until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews out!